Hello there, adventurers, and welcome to Wally DM. Today our adventuring party is in a very dark room with a large pillar. Now the door that they need to go through is magically sealed by a very high level wizard. However, there's a plaque above it that says to simply place the shadow of the pillar upon the door in order to go through. Now how the characters are going to get the shadow of the pillar upon the door is going to be our puzzle. Today we're going to look at a puzzle submitted by Lex from the Wally DM Discord, and this ties in very nicely with puzzle number 40 on this channel, the Door of Shadows. You could create an entire dungeon or an entire gaming session full of shadow-like creatures and puzzles. So let's take a look at it. Today's puzzle is called the Shadowy Pillar. Just a reminder, if you have not joined our Discord yet, I highly encourage you to do so. Come on over and hang out with me and folks that know a lot about D&D. And if you like the content on this channel, please hit that subscribe button and pick up my brand new puzzle book, Wally DM's Journal of Puzzle Encounters, available now on DriveThruRPG. So in this puzzle, our adventuring party enters from the door to the west. Now when they enter this room, it's going to be dark with the exception of one light source. Now this light source is a lantern, and this lantern is bolted to the ground, and there is no way to turn it off or to remove it from the floor in which it is attached. And it is giving off what little light there is in this room. Now next to the lantern is going to be a metal box, and if the characters would like to extinguish all of the light in this room, they can take this metal box and place it over the lantern, and that will kill the light. But we'll discuss that more in a little bit. Now the other objects in this room is this large pillar. Now this large pillar is decorated with spokes that stand out and encompass the pillar. And that's represented by these lines here and this red line going around the pillar. Now think of these spokes kind of like a turnstile that you would go through if you're entering a subway, an airport, a bus stop, something like that, where you just push on through. Now in this side of the room is a skeleton, and this skeleton is holding an unlit torch and is pure white. The bones have been picked clean of all flesh. Now if the characters were to investigate this pillar, there is a magical darkness that extends from the shadow of the lamp to the back end of the wall. Now the characters cannot see through this with dark vision, and any type of light or torch they try to stick in this magical darkness is not going to work. And finally we have our door. Now this is magically sealed by a 68th level wizard and cannot be opened except for by a wish spell or by solving the puzzle. But above the door reads a plaque, and the plaque says, "The pillar's shadow upon the door will light the way." So with everything that's been presented so far, with the plaque above the door, not being able to see behind the pillar because of the magical darkness of the shadow that it is projecting, and the lantern and other objects. Do you know how to solve the puzzle? I'll give you a second if you'd like to figure it out. Did you get it? Great! Let's go over the answer. So the solution to the puzzle is to find a way to have the shadow of this pillar be facing this way so that it projects on the door, as stated on the plaque that is above it. Now there are several different ways that your players might decide to do this. Two that I can immediately think of is perhaps they take their own light source or take the unlit torch from the skeleton over here and bring it in here to try to get behind the pillar in order to get their light to shine on the pillar and project the shadow in this direction to open the door. However, if this character tries to walk back here into this magical darkness where they can't see to begin with and try to shine his lantern there, then we are going to have a black pudding that's going to come out of the darkness and try to engulf this character. So with our paladin back here, now recently awakening this black pudding, we're going to roll for initiative. So now our paladin is in some serious trouble, because if he can't cry out for help from his comrades, then he may be fighting this pudding by himself, because just as a reminder, he is in the shadow of the pillar, and the shadow of the pillar is magical darkness. His lamp or his light is not even shining through it. Now, if this entire room is completely dark, now there is a good chance that a black pudding may come out. And again, it depends on you, the level of your characters, of how many black puddings that you want to hide in the magical darkness. And if you're not a fan of those, then perhaps you could throw some shadows in there. A little bit more on theme even. So just a reminder that as the characters are in this room trying to figure things out, that if they do cover the lantern and this room is completely dark, that there's a good chance that this black pudding is going to come out and say hi. Now, if the characters defeat the black pudding and then try to come back here and shine a light, they're going to be severely disappointed, as their lamps are not going to be able to project a shadow on this far wall using their light sources that they currently have. But one of the key things, if they do come on this side of it and use their lamps in this darkness, they may be able to project a little bit of a shadow in this direction, but they'll still see that this magical darkness or this shadow of the pillar is facing towards this far wall. Now, the key to solving the puzzle is with the spokes that surround the pillar. This turnstile thing, we're going to need at least a few of these characters to start pushing on these, and as they push on these, then this pillar can be rotated. In fact, up to this point, if the characters are lost, you may want to allow them an investigation check with a DC of 15 to see that this pillar has been rotated before. I would also recommend that the players that are going to push the spokes in order to rotate the pillar to make athletics checks, maybe a 12 or a 15 DC, depending on how many of them are going to push the spokes. But if they haven't encountered the black pudding by now, they do need to be careful, because if they're pushing the spokes and rotating in this direction, when they rotate over this way, again, we may have our black pudding over here waiting for them. So again, the solution to the puzzle is for the characters to grab a hold of the spokes, continue to turn them, and as they do, the pillar's shadow has been cast upon this door to light the way. The door opens, and our adventuring party can continue on with their exploration. So today's puzzle featured turning the actual pillar itself to put this magical darkness that it sheds in that cone shape all the way around and turn it upon the door. Now, of course, if the adventurers are using their own kind of light, then they may see two different shadows. They could see the shadow that's created by the lantern that they're using and the shadow that's created by the magical darkness produced by the pillar. Of course, just as a reminder that the characters are not going to be able to see through the shadow that the pillar is casting, because that is magical darkness. So make sure that you make plans for that with characters as far as dark vision goes and any other type of light sources. And don't forget that those creatures and monsters are hiding behind the pillar to greet them if they come that way. So that's all I have for you today. What did you think of the puzzle? Is this something that you could use in your game? And if so, what would you do differently? Once again, thanks to Lex for submitting and letting me present this on my channel. I really enjoy it, and I had a lot of fun with it. I'll put a link to Lex's Patreon down below if you'd like to check out his other works. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next video, and on to the next.